The sun was sinking behind the endless highway when everything changed. The world felt strangely quiet, as if it had paused to witness a moment that would shape the lives of two people who had never expected to cross paths. Beneath the rusted belly of a parked truck, sitting alone on the cracked concrete, was a little girl no more than 6. Dirt smudged her cheeks, her clothes were torn, and she clutched a worn-out stuffed bear so tightly that it seemed like the only thing holding her together. She was trembling, not from the cold, but from something far worse: fear, hunger, and the terror of being abandoned. And across from her, kneeling with unexpected softness despite his battle-scarred body, was a man the world thought it understood. A man from the notorious Hell Angels biker group, who was about to make a choice that would redefine the meaning of compassion. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of humanity, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us spread these stories of hope. The story truly began hours earlier, when Jake Ironclad Mercer had been roaring down the highway with his brothers, their engines thundering like a pack of wolves across the plains. Jake wasn't known for mercy, at least not by the world. Covered in tattoos, hardened by mistakes, and burdened by a lifetime of running, he rode with the Hell Angels not to cause trouble but to keep himself from drowning in the silence of his own past. He had lived through things that carved deep grooves into a man's soul, and though he never admitted it, he carried a quiet ache inside him that no speed or noise could erase. They stopped near a truck stop as the sun began to lower. The others wandered toward the diner, laughing and shoving each other around. But Jake felt something tugging at his attention, a strange instinct he couldn't ignore. He followed it to the side of an old freight truck, where he heard the weakest, most fragile sniffle. At first he thought it was an animal, but when he crouched down he froze. There she was, barefoot, filthy, her knees scraped, her eyes wide and drowning in fear, and that tiny stuffed bear pressed against her chest like she was holding on to life itself. Jake had seen many things in his lifetime, but nothing had ever hit him like the sight of that child alone under that truck. She looked like someone had left her behind, like someone had chosen to disappear from her life, like someone had decided her small world wasn't worth staying for. She stared at him the way a wounded animal might watch a predator. She didn't speak. She didn't move. She only held the bear and curled herself tighter into a ball, as if the world had been nothing but cruel to her. Jake slowly knelt down, lowering himself to her level. Despite his leather vest, his skull patches, his massive arms scarred with ink and battle, he softened his voice inside his chest. He didn't want to frighten her, but he could already see she was terrified of everything, including him. As the wind rustled the tall grass around them, Jake noticed the girl's lips were dry and cracked. Her stomach growled loudly enough for him to hear. She hadn't eaten in a long time. It made something inside him tighten painfully. He knew hunger, he knew desperation, but no child should ever carry that weight. He looked around for any sign of parents, but the truck was abandoned, its engine cold, its doors locked. There were no bags, no notes, nothing to suggest she belonged to anyone nearby. It was as if the world had discarded her. For a moment, Jake's own past flashed before his eyes, memories he spent a lifetime burying. The nights he had gone without food, the days he'd been invisible to the people who should have cared, the feeling of being small and unwanted. He swallowed hard, suddenly unable to breathe properly. He knew exactly what loneliness could do to a child, and he wasn't about to walk away. He reached into his vest pocket and pulled out a protein bar, crushed a little but still good. He placed it gently on the concrete near her feet. She eyed it cautiously, then him, then the bar again. When she finally reached for it with shaking hands, Jake felt something crack open in his chest. As she ate, tears streamed down her face, mixing with the dirt on her skin. But Jake noticed something else in her eyes, relief, the first sign of trust. He didn't ask questions. He didn't push. He simply sat there, letting her finish. The long stretch of highway glowed gold with the sunset, and the world seemed to quiet down, giving space for something unexpected and fragile to grow between them. When she finished, she looked at him again, not with fear this time, but with a glimmer of hope. Jake gently held out his hand, unsure if she'd take it. His rough, calloused fingers trembled slightly. She hesitated, hugging her ragged toy bear. But after a long, painful moment, she placed her tiny hand in his. It was the smallest gesture, but to Jake it felt like redemption. He lifted her carefully into his arms and carried her toward the diner, where the other Hell Angels froze at the sight, big men who rarely softened now staring in disbelief. The girl tucked her head against Jake's shoulder, and instead of mocking him, instead of questioning him, the group shifted. They understood. They gathered food, blankets, water, whatever they had to give. Behind their tough exteriors, beneath the noise of engines and the weight of reputation, there were hearts capable of enormous kindness. That night, Jake called local authorities, but he stayed beside the girl the entire time, refusing to let her feel alone for even a second. She held onto his vest, refusing to let go until she was sure she was safe. Jake promised he wasn't going anywhere, and he kept that promise. The girl was eventually taken into protective care, but Jake visited her every week. He brought her new clothes, toys, food, and slowly she began to smile. Again. Not the timid, scared smile of survival, but the real, bright kind that children deserve to wear freely. In helping her, Jake healed the child he had once been. And in trusting him, she gave him a second chance at being the kind of man he never believed he could become. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more emotional, inspiring stories to the world. Special request, before you go, comment below. Kindness still exists.